Hello, and welcome to Cinebraskans, the daily Nebraskan entertainment podcast. I am your host, Kyle Kruse, and I'm joined, as always, remotely by my co-host.
Hi, everybody. I'm David Berman. I am a now culture editor for the Daily Nebraskan, and I edit some culture stories. That's what I do.
As well as...
I'm Mia Everding, and now I'm technically nothing because I graduated. So I don't know what you want me to say because
all of your worth and value are tied to the DN, so now you don't matter.
It's all just downhill from here. I guess I could say during my time, I was last position that I held was a photographer and videographer, and I also worked for the culture section. So that's what I was, but now I'm nothing.
A lot of things.
You're just kind of here.
Yep.
But yeah, so this is interesting because this is our first episode of Cinebraskans in which we're recording both video, and it's our second one doing it remotely. Last time went pretty well. But yeah, so we're going to try and keep this relatively brief. As always, I'm your host, Kyle Kruse. I write movie reviews for the DN and just do some general other entertainment stuff.
You almost forgot to say who you were.
Yeah. Yeah, so we'll just jump right into it. We're skipping what have I done this week and going straight into movie news. And probably the biggest piece of movie news to come out this week deals with our favorite topic on this show, the Snyder Cut, which is the existence of a Zack Snyder cut of Justice League is something that we have talked down on this show many times in the past, just because it seemed like such a far off thing. Like there was no way it was going to happen, and it's happening. Warner Brothers is putting up the money for it. They're putting like $20-30 million in to finish the movie, and yeah, it's going to be coming to HBO Max in 2021. Supposedly it's going to be like 4 hours long, supposedly broken up into like 6 segments that you can watch it in, or you can just watch the whole thing. And yeah, what are your guys' thoughts on this?
Well, I had not heard about the 4-hour-long runtime, which just really intrigues me about it. I mean, this entire situation is just fascinating and kind of a weird precedent to set that, like, if fanboys just yell loud enough and hard enough, they can make something happen. And I don't know if that's good or not, but it's happening. I think I kind of expected it to be out this year just because of the buzz that we were hearing. And I think it's a bit of a buzzkill that it's not coming out this year. But I'm excited for it, I guess. I think I'll be less excited for it when I'm not like in quarantine all day and have other things to do. But, it'll be something, I'm sure.
Yeah. What about you, Mia? What do you think?
Dude, that's a good way of describing it. It'll be something. I honestly don't have many opinions. Surprise, surprise, because I've never actually seen the original, like, Justice League. So all I've heard, is the stuff on Twitter over the past, like, months. I don't even know how long it's been, like, circulating. So I don't have many thoughts. So that's my 2 cents.
Yeah. So yeah, the hashtag release the Snyder Cut online movement, if you want to call it that. Yeah, it's pretty much been going on like since Justice League came out in like November of 2017. So they've been at it for a while. And I, again, never thought this would happen. But I'm curious about it. I'm looking forward to it. If it somehow gives us a better version of Justice League, I'm here for that. Yeah, I tried to think about it from like the studio's perspective when they like first announced it, because if you think of it like as an addition to Justice League, like the original Justice League, it kind of doesn't really make a lot of sense. But if you kind of just think of it as its own product, its own like project, then I guess like I can kind of see the mentality in actually making it a thing, because like putting $20-30 million into a movie like this for Warner Brothers and just throwing it on HBO Max could potentially be a very good move. And I think if they put a decent marketing campaign into it, they could build up a lot of buzz with it. Because I think, yeah, Justice League, although the movie was not good, it is still a very popular IP that I think a lot of people will be interested in seeing. Plus, it'll be a little weird seeing a DC movie with Ben Affleck as Batman and a DC movie with Robert Pattinson as Batman come out in the same year. So yeah, I'm cautiously excited about it. It could be an absolute train wreck. It could just be more of what we got from Batman vs Superman, or it could legitimately be something great. So we'll find out.
Yeah, I just really feel like I don't think there's any way that it's going to be so drastically different than what we got that it's going to be like, this is the best superhero movie ever or anything like that. I think it will be about the same, maybe a bit better, and then we'll all forget about it very quickly.
Yeah. Again, this is all just like word online, but yeah, supposedly like only like a fourth of what Zack Snyder was going to use was ended up being used in the final product of the last film. So that would be a decent chunk. So that would give me kind of the vibe that it's going to be a very different thing, but also maybe not. That fourth could be like all the most important stuff.
Yeah.
So we'll find out.
Yeah.
But yeah, moving on from there, we'll move into some other just general movie franchise stuff. Specifically, we're going to move into the world of Mad Max. And since Mad Max Fury Road came out in 2015, there's been a lot of talk about it getting a sequel and what that would look like. Tom Hardy and Charlize Theron, who are the two stars in the film, did not get along on set, and so they did not want to return for a film together. And so that made George Miller, the director of the film, kind of start thinking about the idea of spinning off Charlize Theron's character, Furiosa, into her own film, which actually has materialized and will probably be shooting late this year, early next year. And yeah, it's apparently a spinoff just called Furiosa, and it's going to be a prequel without Charlize Theron. So they're just focusing on her character. This is officially coming. There's been a couple names tossed around that have been in talks to replace Theron in the role. Anya Taylor-Joy was one of them, but also Jodie Comer, which is a name I don't really know. I gave her a quick Google before we started recording, and she's been in a couple of little things. Apparently she played Rey's mom in The Rise of Skywalker, but that was also just a really small part. So I'm interested in this. It'll be interesting to see a Mad Max movie that doesn't have Mad Max in it, unless they somehow decide to bring him back, or well, like obviously bring him into it since it's a prequel. But yeah, I'm here for this. It's more modern Mad Max. Mad Max Fury Road was a blast, and so I'm in on this. What do you guys think?
Mia, have you seen Mad Max Fury Road?
Yeah, I have. Just once, and it was years ago. Like it was a decent time. Like after it had been released. I think I was mostly just a little overwhelmed by it. Like I hadn't seen any of the like original ones, so I didn't really know what to expect like going into it. And so it was a little overwhelming for me. But I think it's one of those movies that like years later I need to give it, another go and see if my opinion of it has changed. So.
Yeah, and Fury Road was pretty much a Furiosa movie anyway.
Yeah.
Though Mad Max was the title, he was very much a supporting character in that movie. And so I think it kind of makes sense to refocus on to just Furiosa. But yeah, I think it's exciting. We'll see what it actually ends up being. But have you seen Fury Road, David?
I have not, and I know it's something I need to see. And maybe it's something I will see someday. So that's all I have to say.
All right, moving on from there, we're going to move into Pirates of the Caribbean. So whatever the new Pirates of the Caribbean film is going to be has been discussed for a year or so now, ever since Johnny Depp is no longer involved with the franchise, and there was word that they were going to be rebooting it. With some new writers, and then they left the project, and now supposedly it might not be a reboot and just star Karen Gillan as a new character, which I think the moral of this story is that Disney has no idea what they're doing with this franchise. It's just kind of a mess. Most of the Pirates of the Caribbean movies since the original 3 have been completely misguided and just completely off the rails anyway. You could tell that they were just kind of thrown together to try and make the franchise relevant again. And I say that as someone that like enjoys the second two Pirates of the Caribbean movies. I realize that they're not great films, but I personally get a lot of enjoyment out of them because I watched them a lot when I was a kid. But yeah, I think they should just kind of leave this franchise alone. Just kind of let it die, let it be what it is. Which, like, I can understand the temptation to go back to it because it is a billion-dollar franchise. But it just, yeah, at this point, it seems like every movie is just kind of recycling the same material. Which maybe they can change that up with a new star, but maybe not. What do you guys think?
Yeah, I mean, I haven't seen any of the Pirates of the Caribbean movies, and again, I know I need to. I know the theme song; it's a pretty good theme song, but it's a franchise that's based on a Disney ride. So I feel like at this point they're like, we don't have anything to go on. We don't have any books. We don't have any existing lore. We have to make our own like we have to forge our own path here, and I think they just don't really know what to do with that.
Are you saying you're not excited for Jungle Cruise, David?
No, I'm not, because it looks bad.
Yeah.
And it's based off of one of the most boring Disney rides there is. You're just on a boat and you're looking at animals, and it's bad. So
Sounds wonderful. Sounds wonderful. I feel like, yeah, I agree with you, Dave. Like, or Kyle, not ever you, Dave, but Kyle. Like, yeah, I think it's like grasping at straws at this point. And I haven't seen any of the latest. Is it 2 or 3?
I think the latest 2. There's 5 of them right now. So.
Okay, so I haven't seen the last 2, just because, I heard they were trash, so I didn't want to see that. I just recently, my brother and sister-in-law, brother-in-law and sister, wow, family, they watched the first 3 over again. So I have recently seen them again, and I mean, my opinion of them kind of dipped after seeing them the second time. And so I feel like continuing this series at this point is just trying to, I don't know, like you were saying, just keep it relevant, which I don't think is a good excuse to continue making movies.
Yeah. The 4th one was fine, but the fifth one was better than the 4th, but it still just kind of didn't really know what they were trying to do. It just kind of felt like, I don't know, like a glorified fan fiction. Like they like tried bringing back Will, and it just wasn't really working all that well. But yeah, I guess moving on from there, want to talk briefly about this new project that's come together, starring Jason Momoa and Peter Dinklage. Apparently, it's some sort of new monster hunting type movie called Good, Bad, and Undead, in which Peter Dinklage plays Van Helsing and Jason Momoa plays a vampire that has sworn off killing, and they kind of like team up and hunt monsters together, which this sounds kind of really dumb, but also like it could be a lot of fun. I'm sure it's just going to be an over the top CGI fest of just random monsters, Peter Dinklage and Jason Momoa. But also, I think I'd be down to see that. I enjoy both of those actors quite a bit. And yeah, what do you guys think of this?
I think just first up, I think it's a very good pair. I think that could be a really fun like buddy cop movie, but it's set like a long time ago in like the Age of Vampires. So like, yeah, sure. That sounds like something, I guess.
What do you think, Mia?
I mean, I'm sort of over the buddy cop trope at this point. Like, it seems overused in my opinion. That's just me being me. When was, like, is this in very, very early production of like script writing, or like what kind of state?
Like it just like this news just came out like the other day. So they just cast. They're probably finishing up scripts and such now.
Okay. So it's something that's going to be like probably way in the future just because of
COVID. Like
okay. So. Yeah, I don't know. I don't have high hopes, but I think it is a good pairing. Like, I think it could be interesting, but, it depends on all the work that's put into it.
Yeah, I think whether, like, the quality of this movie really just depends on the tone they try and set with it. If they go for, like, a kind of more tongue-in-cheek humorous take, I think that could work, especially with these two actors. But if they try to go, like, the, like, super cool route like what they did with the Van Helsing movie with Hugh Jackman way back in the day. I don't know if either of you saw that movie. It's not good.
I've heard of that movie and seen some bad bits of it.
It's bad. So I hope it's just not another version of that. But yeah, I guess we'll find out. Moving on from there, just briefly, we got the news that Luca Guadagnino, who is the director of Call Me by Your Name and the remake of Suspiria a couple of years back, has taken the reins on the long in development reboot of Scarface. There have been numerous directors and numerous actors attached to this over the years. And it appears that they're just kind of giving it a complete like reset, and Luca Guadagnino is coming in. Might touch up the script a little bit, and there's no word on who he wants to cast in the lead role. Personally, I have not seen Scarface, so I don't have much to add to this. But I don't know if either of you have seen that, or if you have any thoughts on this. I know you're a fan of Guadagnino's, Mia. So if you want to talk about that, go for it. And
yeah, I mean, I have only seen Call Me by Your Name, so I have seen him directing that like very specific kind of movie, because I need to kind of branch out and see. I think he did A Bigger Splash was one of them, and then Suspiria, which I just watched the trailer for. I'd seen it before, or I'd seen the trailer before. I rewatched the trailer, and that got me very, very excited, because that's just, in a completely different like direction than Call Me by Your Name was. So I think it's interesting seeing a director as talented as he is, like doing these projects that seem like at first glance like that they're completely different. So I think it'll be interesting, but I've also not seen Scarface, so I don't know how much his version is going to deviate from the original.
Yeah, and this is a movie that's like Scarface has been remade a couple times. Like I think the first one came out in like the 30s or 40s or something, and then they remade it again like in the 70s or 80s with Al Pacino. Now they're doing this, so
yeah, I could see it being like very artsy, because he's a very, very talented director, so I could see it being taking a very artistic kind of look to it. But it also, do we know like the production company or?
Okay. I'm sure we could look it up. I don't know it off the top of my head though.
I'll look it up. So I looked it up. It's Universal.
Okay.
The production for Scarface. So that'll be interesting.
It'll be interesting seeing him work with like a major studio like that.
Yeah.
But yeah, from there, we'll move into some TV stuff, all of which deals with Disney Plus, because that just seems to be the way things go these days. First of all, we got a lot of casting and news regarding The Mandalorian Season 2 over the past couple weeks. Probably like the biggest news to come out of this is that Tamura Morrison, who played Jango Fett in Star Wars Episode 2, he is returning kind of to that role to play Boba Fett in Season 2 of The Mandalorian, because, clones and such. And so that's, I think, really exciting. But then we're also seeing Katie Sackhoff take on the role of Bo-Katan, which it's been a while since I watched through Clone Wars all the way, and I haven't finished Rebels, so I admittedly don't remember much about the character of Bo-Katan, but it's cool that they're bringing her back. And then Timothy Olyphant has joined the cast as just, I guess, another bounty hunter who apparently has stolen Boba Fett's armor and is just kind of hanging out with it. So that'll be interesting. Maybe Tamura Morrison's gonna mess him up. We'll find out. What were you gonna say, David?
Yeah, is Bo-Katan a Mandalorian? Because I just the images I've seen have been like in that armor. So
she's a Mandalorian. She, not to get too nerdy on you guys here, but she was one of the main figures in Death Watch, which was kind of like a Mandalorian kind of, I don't know, like war mongering crew type thing. And they got involved with Darth Maul for a little bit. And then she's also the sister of Duchess Satine, who was the ruler of the Mandalorians and definitely had a romantic thing with Obi-Wan, but that's a whole nother thing. But yeah, she showed up in Clone Wars pretty extensively, and I think she pops up in Rebels quite a bit as well. So she's a character that has had a lot of screen time in animation, so it'll be fun seeing her in live action.
Cool.
But yeah, another series that is coming to Disney Plus sometime soon is an adaptation of the Percy Jackson series, which I believe we've talked about on this podcast before. We are all big fans of the Percy Jackson series. Not fans of the movies. The movies are bad, but the books were very good. This announcement came from author Rick Riordan on his various social media accounts. He said that he is going to be involved with the production of the series, and they're aiming to do each season as like a book of the series. So yeah, I think we're all very excited about this. I'm excited that they're revisiting this franchise, because I think that there is a lot of potential for something great here. And aside from like all the staples like Harry Potter and Hunger Games and that kind of stuff, like at least in my circles, Percy Jackson was one of the more popular young adult series out there, and so I think there's definitely an audience for this. And yeah, I'm going to be curious to see how they end up translating this into a TV show and like what the production budget is like. But yeah, I'm excited about it. What do you guys think?
Yeah, I think with something like Harry Potter or like Lord of the Rings or the Hunger Games, the movie adaptations of those, I think they're all great, but they don't really have like the time to like fully explore like the deep like nuances of the universe and kind of like explore like side characters because they're movies. So I think this is a really cool opportunity to show like what's going on in Camp Half-Blood and like what are they doing and like just like the weird stuff and like side characters that are in those books and that like really make those books like really lovable. So yeah, I'm super excited for this, and I love that they're doing a book per season, and they're not doing it like the second Percy Jackson movie when they're like, we're just gonna throw 4 books into a movie and we're just gonna call it good. So very excited.
Yeah, what do you think, Mia?
Yeah, someone in the backyard next to me started mowing, so I just put myself on mute. So hopefully this doesn't pop up a lot in the recording. But I am very excited, but I think because I have such high hopes, I'm also very scared. So I'm like right in the sweet zone of excited and scared. So I mean, I'll track the progress obviously, and I'll watch it and I'll give it a go. But I think nothing really. I loved the books like growing up, and so I think it's gonna have to be a really, really impressive show to like live up to the expectations that like the books have set in my mind.
Yeah, one conversation about this that I've seen a little bit online is regarding like what age these characters should be. So like in the first book, like Percy's like 12, I think. And then the first movie, they aged him up to like 16. So do you guys think that casting wise, they'll aim for like more like book like age characters? Do you think they'll cast young and then have the actors age with the show, or do you think they'll kind of go kind of that 16-ish age like they did with the first one? Because I thought that Logan Lerman, although those movies were not good, I thought Logan Lerman was very well cast, and I would be fine with them keeping that age. But also, yeah, staying loyal to the book is something that a lot of people will be happy about. So what do you guys think?
What do you think, Mia?
I feel like I always forget that Percy is so young in the first one, just because it's such a like it's pretty mature content from early on, just because he goes through like serious situations. So I feel like keeping him at that age of 12 would be good, possibly, but also I like him a little bit older. Like going back and reading them again, it's like, oh, this is a kid, and like when I read it, he was older than me, so it felt like I was looking up to him. And so I feel like it could work either way, really. It might be a little bit of an issue, like depending on, how successful the show is, if they continue it on and have, are there 5 books, so like 5 seasons, because then if you're starting out a little bit older, then you have like a 25-year-old Percy, or, not that bad, but you could run into those sort of issues. So I don't know. I think either way could work, really.
Yeah, I think that they should probably keep it like he's supposed to be 12. Like with Harry Potter, they kind of lucked out there where those actors aged perfectly and they didn't get screwed up at all, and they like didn't become like insane child stars. So I think that it's definitely risky to cast like an actual 12-year-old and just throw them out there and just have them age up over 5 years. But I think in a perfect scenario that would work well. I think maybe they cast a little bit older, but then they're supposed to be 12. They just cast a kid who looks like he's 12. And I think that could work. But I think I'd lean towards more like staying faithful towards the books as much as you can, because that's where the movies faltered, because they didn't stay faithful to the books at all.
Yeah. I think if you cast someone along the lines of like, I don't know, like an Asher Angel who played Billy Batson in Shazam, he'd probably be a little too old for it by the time they start shooting this. But like someone along those lines of like the way he was when they started shooting that, I think that could work. But yeah, we'll see how this goes. All right, so we had some technical difficulties, but we're back now, and we'll just jump right into our main topic. And for our main topic this week, we decided to talk about our favorite coming-of-age movies. Just with graduation and everything going on right now, we just decided that, yeah, we wanted to do this, and yeah, it sounded fun. So yeah, David, we'll start with you. What is one of your favorite coming-of-age movies?
Yeah, so while I've been home, my parents have subjected me to a lot of bad 80s movies that they claim are good going in, and they're like, this is great, you're gonna love this movie. And then we watch it and they're like, that was way worse than I remember it. And they're just really bad movies. And a few of them have been coming of age movies. I've seen Diner, which is just one of the most boring movies I've ever seen. And Risky Business, which is just a movie where Tom Cruise becomes a pimp, and they're like, ha ha ha, funny, and it's just very bad. But a good 80s coming of age movie that I have watched during this time is Ferris Bueller's Day Off. I've already seen it, obviously, before this time. I don't even know how many times I've seen it, but every time it's just as good and just as funny, and you love the characters just as much. I don't even really know what else to say about Ferris Bueller's Day Off, because I feel like just everyone universally loves that movie. So it's good.
It's a good choice.
Yeah, I haven't seen Ferris Bueller's Day Off in a while, but yeah, it's a classic. Everyone loves it. So
nice. Yeah, I also haven't seen it in a while. It's one that my mom likes to watch like every year, and so we're due to watch it sometime soon, and I'm looking forward to it because, yeah, it's a classic. You can't go wrong.
Yeah. So what about you, Mia? What's one of your favorite coming of age movies?
This is also a movie that's like just in one of my like top 10, I would say, honestly, and it's breaking away from like 80s sometime. I don't remember. It's like very young Dennis Quaid. I love it. It's so good. It's so heartwarming. I think the chemistry between all of the actors is so believable. Like, you really understand their relationships and just like the nuances in everything that they're going through. It's just a good kind of transition from high school into college, and the expectations and like familial relationships. Like, it just kind of touches on everything. And I also like that it's like a little bit naive. Like, there's nothing really like dirty in it or anything. Like, you just feel like wholesome watching it. It's a feel-good movie, and it is just so, I don't know, I can't sing its praise enough, honestly. If you haven't seen it, you need to watch it like immediately. Like, it's that good. And I feel like it's one of those movies that it just gets better every time you watch it, which I think is sometimes kind of hard to find in movies.
Yeah, I have not seen Breaking Away, so I don't really have much to add. But have you seen it, David?
I have, and I think it's pretty good. Like, I don't think it's great. I think it's just like good. Like, I don't think it's incredible. I just recently watched it because my sister is going to grad school in Indiana. So and a lot of that movie was filmed on like Indiana University's campus. So we just watched that just so she could see what was going on there. But yeah, it's pretty good. Like, I think it's solid. So yeah.
I can't. I hate you so much, Dave.
No, I don't dislike it. I think it's
Yeah, but
good.
you think it's pretty good, which is like as bad as not liking it.
That's not true at all.
Yeah, if you don't have my level of appreciation for something, A, you're wrong, and two, B, like, why? I don't get your taste in movies.
You sound like a toxic Star Wars fan. If you don't have my level of appreciation for this movie, then I hate you.
Oh,
So
don't put me in that category. I'm not that bad. I hope.
Yeah. So one of the movies that was on my list is Lady Bird, which you guys both know what Lady Bird is. Came out like 2016, was it? 17?
Yeah.
And it was directed by Greta Gerwig. Had an absolutely fantastic cast, led by Saoirse Ronan, who, like, I was aware of who Saoirse Ronan was before seeing Lady Bird. Like, I had seen Brooklyn like the year prior, and she's really good in that. But I think it was really Lady Bird that really, like, kind of slingshotted her to, like, becoming one of arguably the most talented actresses working today, like, at least from our generation, at least. And yeah, it's just all around fantastic coming of age movie that I think it would be hard to find someone that legitimately dislikes this movie. I think it even has like a 99% on Rotten Tomatoes or something like that. Like, it's just kind of universally beloved, and for good reason. It's really well made. It's really well acted, and just has a really emotional story. And yeah, that's why I got Lady Bird on my list. What about you, David?
Yeah, so I'm gonna kind of lump two into one. So two movies I love are Superbad and Booksmart. They're pretty much the same movie, but they're both just really solid. Kind of end of high school, and you're trying to come to terms with what your life is going to be post high school and what that's going to look like. And I kind of saw both around that time in my life. I mean, Booksmart was like a year after I was done with high school, but still kind of that general vibe. And I just, they're both about like two people, two kids who are trying to like be cool right before they graduate high school and like live like the high school experience that they thought they were supposed to have. And they're both just really hilarious but have a really good heartfelt core. So
what was the difference in years between when those two movies came out? Do you know?
Superbad was like 2003.
Okay.
And yeah, Booksmart was last year. So
okay, yeah. Interesting.
Was Jonah Hill really in anything before Superbad, or is that kind of like his start?
I don't know. I think it was pretty much his first thing.
Yeah, because like, to be honest, I thought Superbad was later than 2003, and I was like, I can't imagine Jonah Hill in anything prior to that.
Yeah. Let's pause.
For Michael Cera as well.
Yeah.
Oh, sorry. Superbad was actually 2007, so a little bit later than I thought.
That makes a little more sense.
But yeah, that's pretty much. He was in the 40-Year-Old Virgin before that, and Click with Adam Sandler. But that was like his first like thing that like 2007 was like his year. Like he was in Evan Almighty and Knocked Up and Superbad. So
yeah, I think he had like a really small role in the 40-Year-Old Virgin.
Yeah. He's just like some guy, and I think he just like became friends with like Seth Rogen, and then like they just made a lot of stuff together. So yeah.
Yeah, got no qualms with either of those movies. Oh, both. Yeah. What about you, Mia?
Well, originally this list did have 4, so I'm gonna pick the other one, which I kind of hate myself because I talk about this movie probably every single podcast. Probably. It's Call Me by Your Name. I suppose I have more to say of it this time than in previous times because I actually wrote this movie was included in my capstone paper for my film studies major that I just wrapped up. And so I feel like I hopefully have a little bit more of a different perspective into it. And viewing it as a coming of age movie, I think, I don't know, it gives me kind of new eyes to see something that I already feel like so very familiar with. And I think it's just a really good like exploration into sexuality, which I think is like, it takes a certain level of like emotional maturity to be, you know, not what's the word, but to just be aware of like sexuality, and that like being straight isn't, you know, the only thing that's out there. And I think the way that the movie portrays someone's blossoming like sexuality and understanding of his sexuality, I think it's just dealt with really well. And I think probably one of the better elements of the film is like this speech that the main character Elio's father gives to him at the end, just like saying that he's accepting, you know, of whatever his son chooses to, or whoever his son chooses to love, essentially. And kind of going off of that, he talks about just like how special first love is. And I feel like that movie just portrays all of the complexities of first love. Like, it portrays just like how overwhelmingly strong those feelings can be for someone. And then on the flip side of that, it really, I think, accurately portrays like the sadness that comes when your first love eventually dies out. So I think the movie is fantastic on a number of levels, but thinking of it as a coming of age movie is just like another good lens to have when you're viewing it.
Yeah, I think, yeah, well put. I don't have much to add.
It's almost like you wrote an essay about this and you
It's
just have it in your mind.
As if that happened. Yes.
But yeah, the last movie I want to bring up is Spider-Man: Homecoming, which is a movie that came out the summer after I graduated high school. So it was just kind of like right at that point for me. And I think beyond it just being a fun superhero movie, which obviously I'm into, I think it's just a really fun look at just, high school and learning how to deal with the responsibilities you're given while also like being an awkward teenager. And I think Spider-Man: Homecoming, it's like, even though it's the third take on this character in the past like 20 years, I feel like this is probably the most like defining take on this character. I feel like Tom Holland's the best Spider-Man we've had. And this movie is just, it was such a breath of fresh air into just the franchise as a whole. And yeah, it's a ton of fun. It feels like a John Hughes movie, even though it came out in 2017. And yeah, it's just an absolute blast, and it's very good. I have not written an essay about it, but yeah.
Maybe you should.
Maybe you should.
But yeah, we'll probably just start wrapping it up there. As always, I'm your host, Kyle Kruse, joined by my co-hosts,
David Berman.
And
Mia Everding.
And yeah, thanks for sticking with us, and thanks for tuning in.
Bye.